How's it going, everybody? Chris here with Family Magic Weekly, doing another one of my commentaries. When I came up with the idea of this commentary thing, one of the things I actually had in mind that I wanted to do was video on Star Wars Land when any news sort of came out. Now, I wasn't really going to do just one video because news on these things tends to trickle out. And when Star Wars Land was announced, I knew I really wanted to get as much information on the topics as I could. And apparently I wasn't alone, because if you go online, if you search, you can actually find people that are updating on a weekly basis from both Disney World and Disneyland, where they're building two separate versions of Star Wars Land. They're actually going there on a weekly basis and giving you updates on the construction. The great folks over at Fresh Baked Disney post on a weekly basis from the top of, I believe it's called the Mickey and Friends parking garage, where they survey the land, so to speak, pardon the pun, and give you an update on the construction. Now, we don't really have boots on the ground in Walt Disney World or in Anaheim, so we rely on the information of others, and we're appreciative that they do post that sort of stuff online. We're not in the habit or the business of taking credit for those things, so when we discuss those things or bring up other issues or other articles, I should say, on things like Star Wars Land, we do want to give them credit. So that brings us to an article that was posted at the beginning of this month with slashfilm.com, I believe is the website. I'm going to put it below here if I'm wrong. But Slash Film posted an article this month focusing on Star Wars Land as a whole, and also on the two e-ticket attractions that are going to be part of Star Wars Lands on both coasts. Now, as I said, we don't have boots on the ground. We can't video or take pictures to show you guys the progress. We do invite you to go to those other sources to check those out. However, we're actually going to one-up those other sources this week. Now, for the first time anywhere on the internet, we are going to provide actual model representations of the two e-ticket attractions, Stormtrooper Battle Escape and the as-yet unnamed Millennium Falcon ride at Star Wars Land. This is the only place you can see these things. Now, I should say that, our budget is somewhat limited, so for, in particular, Stormtrooper Battle Escape, the model representation is actually been built with my son's Legos. Now, if you watch the videos online of the Disneyland construction area, you can see that there's an area where there's almost like a pit. It almost looks like a swimming pool has been built there. Now, from what I understand from reading the Slash Film article, that Stormtrooper Battle Escape is actually going to be built there, and that pit is for an elevator mechanism that the ride vehicle is actually going to ride on, which is a pretty interesting thing. And also, the actual ride itself is going to be trackless. Now, we don't have trackless technology here at our household, so our model is actually on a track. And actually that yellow car doesn't move on its own, so we had to make some adjustments to another car. There we go. So you're going to be riding along and you see the scenery there, and at some point you're actually going to get onto an elevator. So there you won't get stuck, so then you get some help getting on there. Oh, whoops. There we go. It's back on the elevator. And at some point, the ride presumably is going to be built in a multi-story structure, and the ride vehicle, whether you're going to be on it or not, is going to go up. And there it goes. Well, it gets stuck, so maybe a smaller ride vehicle. There we go. Back to the other one. And there they go, up. So that's one aspect of the ride. An interesting one. Now, I said maybe you're going to be in the vehicle when it goes up and maybe you're not. And the actual reason I say that is because another interesting point that the article brings up is at various times throughout the course of the ride, you're going to be in your ride vehicle. There we are. We're trackless now. And there's actually going to be points where you and your friend who are riding in the vehicle We're not sure what the vehicle is going to be, so that's sort of a generic representation. But you're actually going to be getting off the ride. The ride's not over, but you're going to be getting off. But you can't bring balloons because they make you fall over. So you're actually going to get off the ride, and apparently you're going to then go and either explore or deal with stormtroopers, or fish or giraffes or whatever whatever Star Wars world's going to have for you. You're going to be there. I don't know. You're going to be, assumably, be able to interact with objects. There may be audio animatronic stormtroopers. There was talk in the article about there being stormtroopers. There may be things. We don't know how interactive it's going to be. One of the concerns, of course, is ride flow. Like, people are going to want to sit down. How do you keep the ride moving? How do you keep people moving along so that the wait times and the guests per hour up, and that maybe you're going to be dealing with a flying cat or something. So there you have it with Star Wars Battle Escape. We're going to go into the Millennium Falcon ride next, and then once the model representations of the rides are over, I just want to sort of go over some other details in the article, and as well as some interesting points that these things pose. This information poses. You're supposedly going to be on the Millennium Falcon. Your ride vehicle is a representation of the Millennium Falcon. You're going to be flying around space. Through the galaxy, and presumably you may actually come across some First Order TIE fighters, maybe flying information. Presumably you're going to come across them, and you're going to start doing battle with them. There are actually some defeat or win conditions of this ride, it seems. So you can actually do things to be successful in your mission, do things to not be successful. You may do things and end up dealing with these swarming TIE fighters and get surrounded by them. Or you may just like blow them out of the sky. They may be swarming you. The flying cat may come around. Maybe there'll be some synergy between the two rides. I can't say for sure, though. That's kind of one of our just artistic license. Maybe you interact with other characters in the movies. Maybe Poe Dameron will come around in T-70 X-wing, maybe with the Num, or one of the other X-wing pilots, maybe the horse guy. And who knows? You may just defeat the First Order, and then fly off victorious, like that. I actually do have a confession to make. The toys in that representation of the Millennium Falcon ride they were actually mine rather than my son's. X-Wing Miniatures game, you should check it out. It's a lot of fun. There's a free plug for Fantasy Flight Games. Just to go through some of the other things that were mentioned in the article, they talked about the atmosphere at Star Wars Land almost being like a Renaissance fair. Everybody in character, allowing kids to cosplay, sort of treating Star Wars Land as like a living museum, Renaissance fair, or colonial Williamsburg type place. They also mention elaborate queue lines that sort of start the storytelling experience, which is really not a new concept. We've seen pretty elaborate queue lines in Universal with Reign of Kong, Gringotts, as well as Forbidden Journey. All have great queue lines, and Disney does as well. You have the storyline of the Yeti and Destination Everest, which when you're sitting in that line, if you go through, there's a lot of neat little nuances telling that story before you actually get on the ride. Tower of Terror is a perfect example in Hollywood studios of great queue that sort of sets the mood. It's literally a giant hotel. It could very well have been a hotel. It's just so huge in scope even before you get on the ride. One I always thought was very good in terms of a queue, sort of underrated, was Big Thunder Mountain. If you're in that line for a good amount of time and you start to see the posters on the wall, or the little things you can interact with, it really does set the stage for this sort of prospecting railroad journey that you're going to go on. So that's not really a new thing. But it seems like they're trying to up the ante, take it one step further, really keeping the experience immersive. I believe they specifically mentioned the Millennium Falcon ride, which also for some reason is codenamed Big Bird by the Walt Disney Imagineers, according to this article. You're actually going to be transitioning from room to room, and each room's going to have like a little theater that's going to advance the plot of the story before you actually get on the ride. And as I said during the representation there that we created, you're actually going to be given mission objectives, and you can either pass or fail. So it sounds like they might be doing a little mission to Mars, mission space rather. That's the ride, right? In Epcot, Mission Space? I think so. Might be doing a little Mission Space type winning conditions, losing conditions on the ride, which also is kind of interesting. So this notion of the Star Wars Battle Escape ride allowing you to get out of your vehicle, your trackless vehicle, explore, and then get back on, brings up issues of rider flow, rider numbers per hour. Can they keep that reasonable? I assume it is something they thought of. It is what they do. But still, all these details are kind of interesting. It gives you a little more of an idea of what they're going for, gives you a little more room to speculate and kind of steer your speculation into different areas and different directions. I'd love to know what you think. Does this excite you? Does it make you concerned about wait times? Do you trust in Disney doing this right? I know I do. I'm pretty excited about this. But I want to know what your thoughts are. We're going to be doing a couple more Chris's commentary videos, obviously, about Star Wars. I do want to get into looking at Hollywood studios as a whole. What does the future look like for Hollywood studios? It's kind of getting a bad rap these days because there's a lot of things pending and a lot of things under construction, but they have a lot in the works, and we just kind of want to maybe do a video upcoming on what that park's going to look like in 6 years. It could go from worst to first or worst to second. I'd really want to explore looking at that and how the map of that park's going to look. Be sure to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Comment, tell us what's wrong, tell us what we're doing right. We're trying to grow the channel. We want to make things entertaining for you. You'll notice there's no table over there. The table's been sold. We are slowly working our way to actually having a kind of a nice room in here. It's a work in progress. Be sure to check out Amanda's videos. I got 2 crafts behind me that she worked on. I have the pin board, as well as the lantern, the hitchhiking ghosts from the Haunted Mansion. So definitely check out her videos. And thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week, and be careful.